welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into something totally unexpected. We're going to unpack a source that takes a classic macroeconomic question, specifically, what's going on with the national currency, and literally flips it on its head into a deep socio-philosophical critique. It's a completely different way to look at a nation's economic health, and honestly, it's pretty fascinating. So here's our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start with the truth behind the won's depreciation, look at social trust as the root cause, and then explore corporate duty versus government limits. After that, we'll get into the true purpose of money, how we can grow intellectually with AI, and finally, how to turn this whole crisis into an opportunity. All right, Section 1, the truth behind won depreciation. Let's uncover this macro puzzle. So here's the exact prompt the speaker in our source was dealing with. Why on earth is the won dropping into the 1400 range when there's a massive trade surplus? I mean, on paper, everything looks totally fine, right? South Korea is running a huge trade surplus, but the currency just keeps dropping. Export dollars aren't coming back as won, and capital is just bleeding overseas. So what gives? Why the paradox? While the source doesn't answer this with your standard Econ 101 textbook theory, instead, they use a brilliant conceptual metaphor. Sure, there's the traditional economic view of capital flight, but to explain it, the speaker compares the nation to a rotting, bug-infested house. Think about it. If you realize your house's foundation is rotting away and swarming with bugs, you're absolutely not going to invest more money into it, right? You pull your cash out. The argument here is that capital is fleeing because of a massive, fundamental lack of societal trust. The money simply doesn't trust the nation's future. Moving on to Section 2, root cause, social trust. Let's figure out what exactly is rotting in society. According to the speaker, it all comes down to generational shifts. You have the first generation, they sacrificed everything and put in grueling basic effort. Then the second and third generations stood on those shoulders and achieved massive technological and corporate success. But here's the catch. The source claims that while these later generations successfully built incredible megacorporations, they kind of dropped the ball on caring for society. They grew using the power of the public, but totally forgot to look back and tend to the public's well-being. To put that into perspective, the speaker uses some very specific conceptual math. The argument is that once a corporation hits about 70% maturity, it has a strict, non-negotiable obligation to dedicate 30% of its resources back towards societal benefit. Because, without the public, these corporations literally couldn't exist in the first place. And ignoring this delicate balance, well, the speaker claims that is what has caused society to rot from the inside out, triggering the exact economic symptoms we're seeing right now. Okay, Section 3, corporate duty and government limits. This is all about the broken social contract. The crucial takeaway here is how the speaker divides up the roles in our society. The government's actual job is to provide basic education and support early economic growth, up to maybe 50 or 60%. But once corporations become mature, self-sustaining giants, they are the ones meant to lead the charge in caring for the citizens. Instead, the source claims corporations have shirked this duty, just tossing the whole responsibility right back into the government's lap. And that leads to a pretty stark conclusion. A government absolutely cannot innovate if it's constantly bogged down with corporate social responsibilities. Governments don't naturally generate wealth, right? So they have to extract it through taxes to fix these problems. And that just leads to excessive taxation, economic stagnation, and this endless cycle where the state throws money at problems without ever fostering real sustainable development. Next up, Section 4, true purpose of money and welfare. This is a pretty provocative look at government handouts. Now, we're going to impartially unpack a highly charged perspective from the source regarding cash handouts. The speaker argues that just distributing money without fostering actual intellectual growth is basically akin to communism's ration systems. In this specific view, handing out cash, especially during or right after elections, is merely a tool to buy votes, and they argue it creates a dependency that ultimately ruins the citizens' drive to better themselves. This ties directly into a concept the speaker calls the natural law of money. It's a philosophy suggesting that a lack of resources actually exists to teach a societal lesson. So if you get unearned funds, like a government handout, and immediately blow it on short-term desires, this natural law dictates you'll eventually suffer a loss 10 times greater. The absolute only valid use for these funds, according to the speaker, is to invest them straight into your own intellectual growth. Which brings us to Section 5, intellectual growth with AI. This is the micro-action for macro change, and honestly, it's the biggest plot twist in this entire explainer. We're zooming all the way down from macroeconomic currency crises to a super-specific personal habit. Get this specific number, 300,000 won. The speaker explicitly advises that instead of using government handouts on food or temporary relief, citizens should take that cash, even if it's 300,000 won a month, and use it to buy premium subscriptions to artificial intelligence tools. Yeah, you heard that right. Skip the groceries, buy the AI. Why? Well, the speaker sees large language models as the ultimate tool for citizen empowerment. We're encouraged to treat these LLMs like our own personal mentors. You use them to summarize complex info, verify studies, and break down dense expert lectures. In fact, the speaker enthusiastically claims that spending 300,000 won on an AI tool gives you way more value than consulting 30 human professors. It's about giving absolutely anyone the power to achieve high-level intellectual growth. And this creates a really fascinating reciprocal loop. Step 1, you learn from human mentors and source materials. Step 2, you discuss, organize, and verify that knowledge using your AI tool. And step 3, this is the cool part. As you input this rich philosophical data, the AI itself learns and gets better. So by studying, you're actually training the AI with high-quality information, which then benefits the entire global community. You are literally crowdsourcing enlightenment. Finally, Section 6, turning crisis into opportunity. This is all about the hidden power of the citizen. Let's zoom back out to the macro level and see how your personal AI study habits actually connect back to solving a national currency crisis. The speaker makes a remarkably bold claim here. People usually panic when the exchange rate hits 1,400 won, right? But the source argues that even if it shoots up to 1,500 or, hey, even 1,600 won, the country isn't going to collapse. Why? Because of the deeply rooted fundamental strength built by past generations and the massive latent potential of today's citizens. The crisis isn't here to destroy society, it's just a symptom designed to wake us up. So here's the ultimate thesis. If individuals stop complaining about the economy and instead actively pursue their own intellectual growth, using tools like AI, the national trust will naturally restore itself. The speaker claims that one person studying correctly does the work of 100. By dedicating ourselves to learning, citizens can spark a societal renaissance that could literally fix the economic crisis in just 2 to 3 years. We've gone from international exchange rates to the philosophical duty of megacorporations, all the way down to how you should spend a government handout on AI. It is a wildly fascinating chain of logic. So, I'll leave you with this final, thought-provoking question based on our source. Are you investing your resources, your time, your money, your technology to genuinely grow, or are you just treating the symptoms of a deeper problem? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and as always, keep learning.